Hey, what's good, family? This episode, I had the opportunity to chop it up with a self-proclaimed YouTube troll, goes by the name of Binary Code. I listened to lives on YouTube, and there was one in particular where I saw there was somebody in the chat and on the panel that was clearly trolling. I could see it. I don't know if everybody else could see it. I could see it, and I was enjoying it. Because it was a intellectual trolling, but it also was fun and a little bit goofy. But the troll brought the conversation where he wanted it to go, but it was nothing like vicious. And so, fast forward to me seeing this particular troll, finding out that he had his own channel. So once I found out he had his own channel, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in there for that. So I subscribed to his channel, and then I asked for an interview, of course, because the way I operate is whatever the avatar or the character or the person, the public persona is, I always know, and we always know that there's a story behind the person. And as I got to get more information about him, then I said, okay, this dude's more interesting than I thought. So I reached out and asked for him if he would come and interview on my podcast, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So, let's see what we got.
Get what you get.
Yeah,
right?
but if the guests don't show up, you kind of just trying to figure out. So, but
you got to prepare for that. You gotta prepare.
That's what I don't have to do, because this is not live. I could, so I don't have to do that. But so the first thing I wanted to talk about is how you grew up? Where did you grow up?
Oh man, the mean streets of Oklahoma.
Okay.
I grew up in the mean streets of Oklahoma. Nah, man, I had a very sheltered childhood, and not necessarily money, but love. You know what I mean? As far as my parents loved me enough to let me make my own mistakes. They loved me enough to throw me out into the world, and you either sink or swim, fool. Make your own choices, do what you do. You know what I mean? And so, that's kind of how I grew up. I wish they would have loved me a little bit harder than they did. You know what I mean? But I love my parents for that, man. So I grew up in Oklahoma. Man, had to deal with racism. That was a part of it. I mean, my neighbors were racist. And what's crazy is my neighbors right next to me was racist, but their son, I taught him everything he needed to know about football.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I taught him everything he needed to know about football. We was best friends, but his parents were racist as shit, man. So I had to deal with that.
Now, did you knew that as a kid?
No, they're the ones that this wasn't my first brush with racism, but it was my first up close and personal encounter with racism, like face-to-face type stuff. Because his sister, who was only like a couple of years younger than us, I was teaching her how to play baseball, you know what I mean? And she was pretty good or whatever, and I started liking her, I mean, one-on-one lessons, you know what I mean?
That don't sound like baseball, bro. That sounds like
it was baseball. It was baseball.
Okay, all right. Oh, that's right. First base, second base, third base.
I was teaching her everything, you know what I mean? And so I started liking her or whatever, and she actually told me, everything about you is cool, except you're not white. That's what she told me.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wow. Okay. So that was my first, and then I was like, does that really matter? Like, I'm talking to her like that. Does that really matter? Does that really matter? She's like, yeah. She's like, but you know what? You talk to my mom, and if she says okay, then cool. And I was like, all right, your mom's cool. You know what I mean? So I thought her mom was cool.
Yeah.
So I went talked to her mom, like, hey, I'm teaching her how to play baseball, whatever. I like her to be my girlfriend. And this is what she's like, don't you think black little boys should stay with black little girls? And then, she hit that. She hit me with that. But now let's fast forward to where I'm at now. That's how you keep your bloodline.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how you keep it. That's how you keep it going. You know what I mean? But that was my first real encounter with just blatant racism right in my face.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough. Like,
man. Yeah,
I'm trying to think. When I was probably like, I used to, because I went to from the first to the fourth grade, I went to basically all white Catholic school. They used to had this program where, you know, if you got certain grades, they shipped certain black kids out to the, you know, about a half hour out to the white schools. And, you know, like I didn't pick up on some of the stuff, but as I was separated a little bit more from it, then I started to see some of those jokes about having Brillo pad hair and all that stuff. Because, you know, we in our community, black community, we grew up, you know, trying to emasculate each other anyway. So
right.
talking shit to each other doesn't, you know, it's nothing new, but I didn't look at it like that. But as I started separated from it, it was like, damn, they was going in on me in a way. And then I started to think like, where was that coming from? Because they heard it from somewhere. So,
yeah, you know what's crazy is although where I grew up wasn't as gangsta, and we were all wannabe gangsters, not necessarily me, but the people around me were wannabe gangsters, those guns were real.
Oh, yeah.
Like they would really shoot each other, but they weren't like, you know what I mean? They didn't really know the hoods they were claiming. They didn't really know this, but they were mimicking everything they seen, and they were really out there beating each other up and shooting people. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like one of my good friends, you know, got arrested for murder. He walked up into a gas station, popped this lady, killed her. I just could not believe it. Like we were in 9th grade, you know, but that life got to him, and he went in there, handled his business. And wait, actually, he got away. White dude too. He trying to, you know, hanging with us. You know what I'm saying? He got away, but his crew, they ratted him. They ratted him out.
Listen, if I could tell anybody anything, I'm from Connecticut, so when most of the people say Connecticut, they think there ain't no black people in Connecticut. But if you get a chance, look up I'm from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Look up Bridgeport, Hartford, New Haven, and a little bit of Waterbury. They like, you know, it's like they're like little New York. It's not a lot of people, but the crime per capita is really high. Yeah, and a lot of the times, like I always tell people like that, no snitch and all that was all a bunch of BS because everybody was, since the beginning of the time, people been telling on each other. There is no, they know rules, is none of that. So, you know, even though the portrayal is, you know, and I work on a college campus. So to hear like, or to see like, you know, well-off white kids, like when there's an investigation or something, and like, well, I'm not a snitch, and it's just like, come on, man.
Man, get out of here,
that's supposed to be for criminals. But even if you look at the mafia or, you know, the gangs in the hood or whatever, they always telling on each other. Let me go back. So you had mentioned that, you know, you look at things different now. So when the mom said, don't you think, you know, black boys should, you know, date black girls or whatever she said. But like, do you remember like how you felt about that?
Back then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt, shoot, man, I felt shunned almost. You know what I mean? I felt almost bad to be black at it, you know? You know what I mean? Because we was really digging one another. And you got to look at the psychology behind it. I got hit with, if you were white, I can go out with you. And that was coming out of her mouth. Right. And then you go to the mom and then she hits me with that. It feels like there's something wrong with you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that's what I felt. But I never wanted to be white though. Right. I just felt bad at that time. Like, damn. So this is what's keeping me from that. Okay. Well, you know what I mean? But I never once in my life was like, dang, man, I wish I was white. Nah, right. Never. Man.
Do you remember if like you had any kind of like inkling, or was anybody putting you up on that type of stuff before it actually happened, or that was like your introduction to it?
Well, I mean, when I was in 5th grade, it wasn't necessarily a white person, but her dad was white. It was an Asian girl, and like you may know this, you may not know this, but my mom is half Japanese, right. And she raised me in that culture. You know what I mean? And not necessarily with the language, but with the food. You know what I mean? The way I conduct myself and all that stuff. That's why, you know, I talk the way I do. My voice is all high. She did all that. She did all that. You know what I mean? She didn't let me walk around grabbing my nuts. You know what I mean? I wasn't allowed to do none of that. Right. You know, but And so, I was digging the Asian culture, and
Yeah.
so I saw this girl. I was like, yo, what's up? And we started talking, and we started secretly, this is fifth grade, man. Started secretly going out, and this one black girl was hating on us, told her dad. Her dad ended that junk quick. And it wasn't because we were young.
Right.
It was because she just did not want, and that girl knew that. That girl knew that about her dad.
Right.
And so that was my real encounter with it. But my first time actually feeling it was with the other person.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was my first time actually feeling it.
Yeah. So you mentioned we can jump all over the place, but like
that's cool.
So you mentioned your mom is half Japanese. So we fast forward a little bit to now time where there seems to be there's tension in the Black and Asian community, but I don't think for the most part, I don't think really the Black community separates, like, because I just went to Mexico and I'm ignorant about the country of Mexico, and one of the things that I did learn at 40, I just turned 48 yesterday, but at 47 I learned that, and this is probably going to sound silly, but there's different people and different people in Mexico.
Different types of
types of Mexican. Mexico is a country, and it went down to one of the guides went down. We went to look at some Mayan ruins and stuff like that, and he broke down the different tribes, and he gave us years when this tribe came over, and I just remember thinking like, man, I don't know shit.
That's how I feel too, bro.
Yeah. I just, like, everybody was Mexican until that point, but then it was just like, so I don't know that we necessarily in our community like separate Asian culture, and I don't know that we know enough about it. So I think we lump everybody in when it comes to Asian, and we tend to think, at least from my reach, we tend to think everybody is Chinese.
Right, yeah.
So we don't even.
There's a huge difference, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're growing up and you have Japanese culture, it's odd for me like that. As a kid, we loved like the Japanese culture. We loved the TV shows. We loved stuff like that, the mythology. But as we gotten older, it seems like we find more reasons to separate ourselves. Now, I say all that to say, somebody like you who is actually has blood of different races in your system, how is that for you?
Man, it's weird, and I know I'm gonna catch a lot of flack for saying this, but my skin is black as can be. You can see my skin is black as can be, but the way my mom raised me, my psyche is different.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think if I didn't get that jolt of realness in my life, as far as you black Negro, you black, if I didn't get that jolt, I could be in a lot of trouble, because the way she raised me is in the way that I present myself and stuff. I always thought like, I didn't really see the colorism.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't really get any of that. I didn't do that. Like, I just wasn't in that lane. Like, I mean, my friends were black, I had some Asian friends too, but it just never occurred to me, like, this world is against you.
Right.
That this world has disdain for you. When I would, when you're in school and you learn about the slavery stories, it never occurred to me like, bro, you're a part of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. You're a part of that. So, and this is another thing is it took me a while to get accepted into the Asian community.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's funny because they can sniff me out like, you ain't full. There's something in you. Something in you. They can sniff me out, but still, because of my skin, they have that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that, even like full on Asians, like if there was a dark skinned Asian like me that's just speaking fluently Vietnamese, they would still kind of, until you're in it. So you have to kind of prove yourself in that culture to be a part of it. So it was really, really hard for me because of the way my mom raised me. And your parents have tons of influence over you. You know what I mean? So because my mom raised me like that, I'm like drawn to Asian women, to the Asian culture, to, you know what I mean? To that that side of things. So when you try to gravitate towards there and you're getting rejected and you don't really understand why, it does something to you.
Right.
It does something to you. So right now, I'm not wrestling with it at all.
Right. Yeah.
I've been married for almost 20 years now, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Got 4 kids. I'm not, it's all good. But growing up, it was real hard, man.
Yeah. And
hard, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, because, you think about it, like if your mother is part Asian, and at some point, as kids, your mother's the most beautiful woman there is. So, you definitely gonna seek, your pattern seeking is like, I want somebody like my mom's, and she's sweet or whatever. I mean, obviously, you don't want to get cussed out like your mom's did. At least my mom did. But when it came to somebody's example, like, my mom's did she cooked, did bathe, she did everything for you. She was, they say, your first quote unquote God is mom.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She done everything for you. So I could see why you would lean towards that anyway. And that's part of her culture.
That's real. And imagine just growing up and that's all you're eating is Asian food.
Right.
But it was crazy how my mom did it. And she only did it with me, which I think is weird because I'm one of 5. Like there's 5 of us. Right. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, she only did this with me. Tons of Asian food, but she would cook soul food as well. Right. You know what I mean? The rest of the family eat that. It's like, come on over here, Binary. You're going to eat some noodles with mama. You know what I mean? It's just like, okay. You know what I mean? Just come on to mama. And like, she did that. I think it was because, my grandma was murdered. Right. So my grandma was murdered when my mom was 13. So I think what my mom did, it was instill her legacy or just I'll go with legacy into me. She didn't want her mom's legacy to go to waste or she didn't want it to end. So I think she chose me. I don't know why. I'm the blackest out of all of us. Right. I don't know why she chose, you know what I mean?
Maybe that's it though. Maybe that's it. You're the darkest one of everybody, and it'll probably be harder for in society. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and so to put that in you, so you connected with it, and I mean it's part of your lineage. So why not? Why not include that? And so you really, your mom really made sure that you got would you say like best of both worlds?
Nah, not my mom. My mom didn't give me the best of both worlds. I guess, when you said, your mom's cussed you out and stuff, she gave me that part. You know what I mean? She did give me that part, but she didn't teach me. Nobody taught me about Black history.
Right.
Unfortunately, man, I had to learn that on my own, and that was very recent. That was I'm a 4-year student, I would say right now. Right. I've been studying Black history, Black culture for about 4 straight years. And this is the thing about me, man. Whenever I start studying something or put my mind to something and really want to learn it, like I dive deep into it. You know what I mean? Right. I don't just stay on the surface of the thing. I dive deep into it. So 4 years for me, for some people, that's about like 20 years of trying to learn something. Right. So what I've learned now, it's like, damn, man, like this has been around me this whole time. You know what I mean? But I don't know, maybe my mom's a psychic, maybe she's a prophet or whatever. She probably knew I needed that heavy dose of that in the beginning because society, hold on, my son's about to touch the light. Don't touch that light, bro. Don't touch that light. That's my baby. Oh gosh. She probably thought, what society is like, and I'm going to grow into that because eventually you learn you Black.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
You're going to learn you Black, but I probably would have never learned I was part Asian.
Right.
So I think that's probably why she did it.
Yeah, for sure. Heavy make sure that, and like you said, she didn't want to, with her mom, she wanted to make sure her mom's, legacy, at least that part of her.
Right.
So you mentioned baseball. You were teaching baseball, so you're heavily into sports.
Yeah.
So what got you into sports? Was that something from your mom's?
Nah, shoot, that was just me. Baseball was the first sport that I actually played, man, which was crazy. That was in 4th grade. It was one of my neighbors again was like, "You look like you fast," probably being racist, and I didn't even know it. Like, okay, shoot, okay, I guess I'll
you
fast,
look like you fast and jump high.
Let's go play some baseball. And that's when I fell in love with sports. And then I realized like, oh man, there's tons of sports out there: baseball, basketball, football, soccer, and I just fell in love with all of it, man. So that's what really got me into it.
Right. Yeah.
It's crazy. Go ahead.
No,
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I played baseball was my first. I still love baseball, but that was the first, organized sport I played was baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, it's legit, bro. It was legit. I threw out my arm a little bit though, which kind of hurt me for being because I was a quarterback too. But I threw out my arm a little bit because nobody really trained me how to pitch because I could throw really hard. You know what I mean? But that's all I was doing: fastball, changeup, fastball, changeup. And so I kind of threw my arm out a little bit, and that's what made me stop playing baseball. And I'm old now, so it's like softball. You gotta get out there and hit the softball.
I can't even do that, man. I tore my Achilles sliding in the second base, and I rolled my ankle the opposite way. I usually roll it one way. I rolled it the opposite. Yeah. It's weird. I was playing. I still play basketball. I must admit, I got a hoop in my driveway, but I still play basketball. Okay. But I had to give up. Like I was heavily into baseball. Football was, my thing in high school. Mm-hmm. But I also dabbled in the streets. That's for another conversation. But but I always loved sports. I feel like sports, where you have to rely on other people, it kind of prepares you. I think people underrate the fact that how much it prepares you for life in general. You guys don't, if you're on first base and somebody's up, they got to lay a bunt down or whatever. Mm-hmm. You don't give a shit what color they are.
Right. No, that's real. That's real.
You trying to move them over to second base. You know what I'm saying? And as long as I found like as long as like the best players are on the field or the court, I think most kids it doesn't really matter to them because they know. They don't really care if that person is better. They don't really care. That's the thing with sports. That's like for me, that helped me along the way. Now, having a good attitude helps as well. Mm-hmm. I always tell people I had a bad attitude, and like I was.
And you must have been really good. You had a bad attitude.
Listen.
You know how that goes.
I'm 6'3". I've been this tall since I've been 14 years old. Ooh, so I've been, I ran a 4.4 in the 40. And so to get me Monday, I remember in high school, Monday was like film day. Mm-hmm. For me, Monday was a day to go chase girls. I didn't show up to film day. Sometimes I wouldn't practice all week, and the coach was like, "As long as you're ready on game day," he didn't really care.
Right.
So, so I was one of those kids who really didn't. But I did see the value, even though I got preferential treatment, I did see the value in the rest of you guys practicing and staying together.
Oh man, that's tough, bro. That's tough.
All right, so let me jump around. So we're gonna fast forward a little bit to actually an interesting thing. I want to talk about how you got into becoming a pastor. I know we skipped through we skipping through some stuff, but to me, you one of those dudes that's so interesting. You got such an interesting story that we could just go wherever. So how did you get into becoming a pastor?
Oh man, my journey was crazy. So, my wife and I got together real young, bro. She was 18, I was 21, she was pregnant. Life was, hold on, my son's trying to talk. Hold on. What up, dude? Huh? Oh, I can't hook it up right now. Daddy's in a meeting. I'm sorry, bro. Oh man, he don't care, listen, man.
No, that's beautiful though. I'm leaving that in, by the way.
Oh, man.
I'll leave that in.
Oh man, so pregnant, didn't know what to do. Jesus is always the answer. It's one thing in the Black community, man.
Yeah,
they be throwing some Jesus on me.
Hey, you pray and then wait, and either you get it later, because sometimes the answer is no. Your prayers are always answered, but sometimes the answer is no.
The answer is no. Yeah.
And you definitely you're gonna get in the afterlife if you don't get it now.
What's crazy is, at that time, I was in college trying to. I was on my way to getting an engineering degree. Mm. So I was getting an engineering degree. I was already at the company, I was working for an avionics company. I was a technician. So, I mean, being young like that, you know what I mean? And living life, got my girl pregnant.
Engineering life.
Mm-hmm. It's like, dang. And then you would think, dealing with all those numbers, dealing with all the components, soldering, dealing with all that, like I would have more of a physics mindset and not move so close into, the spiritual, religious,
Right.
Jesus movement type thing. And like I keep thinking back, like what pushed me? Sometimes when real life hits you, like, oh my gosh, she's pregnant. Like sometimes when that stuff hits you, that's all you can do.
Correct.
You turn and you just like, well, I don't know what to do. Right. And so that's what drove me to church. And like I said, I've always been the type, bro. Like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I sat there. This Baptist preacher was preaching the gospel, saying everything I needed to hear at the time. And I fell in love with Jesus at that moment. And that's how I entered into the church. 1 year later, I'm up there preaching. You know what I mean? I'm up there preaching 1 year later, there preaching, right? Yeah. 2 years later, my wife and I, because we got married. Right. So my wife and I are traveling the United States.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, traveling the United. They're flying us everywhere. We're like the poster child for the church, for churches, like flying us everywhere. They have our photos all over their flyers. So for whatever reason, it seems like no matter what I do, bro, like this happens. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's like an elevation happens. And I attributed that to Jesus at that time. You know what I mean? Like, thank you, Jesus, for lifting me up, not knowing what's really happening to me. But so I'm getting pushed out there. So it's inevitable, bro, that I'm gonna become a pastor. Like everybody and their grandmama knows it. Like he's destined, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. But what I did not anticipate was how much people were going to use me. Like they used the heck out of me, bro. So the first church I went into, I was supposed to become a pastor at that church. Before that happened, I did like this outreach event, right? That church only had about 75 members, right? About 75 members, small church, 75 members, maybe 100 on a good day. So I did an outreach event, bro. I packed that church out, bro. There were so many people that came to that event just to hear me speak, just to hear me rap, just to hear my testimony. Packed the church out. And they were like, oh, this is going to be one of the pastors. Bro, the next Sunday, I got pulled to the back office. That pastor was like, oh, hell no. You ain't going to come up here.
Yeah, you taking his spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm taking his spot, man. And he was like, nope, not going to happen. He just started rebuking me. He just started saying it was the binary show. Right. He started like, I was like, whoa. And everything I was doing, I thought I was doing for his approval. I thought it was God's approval. Right. But I was doing for his approval. You know what I mean? I thought I was doing what he wanted as far as, let's blow this thing up. Let's get these people here.
Right.
And what's crazy, bro, I think you're going to trip out on this, is the people that were coming, they were coming from all over the place, from different churches, from different religions, all over the place, just to hear me talk, man, and just to be a part of whatever it is that we were doing. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Like if you go to the YouTube street.
Yeah, we
going to my show right now.
we gonna get to some. I want to. You got an interesting trajectory from sports to almost like a missionary to troll, but we gonna get into all of that.
Yeah, so after that verbal beatdown from that pastor, I was like, you know what? People are offering me positions. Like they just other churches kept trying to pluck me out of that church anyway, saying I'm wasting my time. And so I took this one dude up on the challenge. I was like, you know what? You want me to come to your church? And he made me an assistant pastor. So that's how I got my foot in the door. I got licensed through him, you know what I mean? And I became an assistant pastor there. Man, I forgot what happened with that situation, but it got ugly. Right. It got real ugly. And it had nothing to do with jealousy or him and I falling out or something. I can't remember what happened though. But he did something where everybody just started leaving, to the point to where I would show up and I'd be like, so you're preaching to me and my family now? Or, you know what I mean? And then this dude had the nerve when I was like, okay, so we're going to go. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, now you leaving us? I'm like, come on, bro. Are you serious? Come on, man. But I'm not gonna lie, he spent a lot of money, bro. He spent a lot of money. He introduced me to a lot of famous people in Christendom. He introduced me to a lot of famous people, you know, so my name was buzzing. I can't even, man, I've been to so many different churches, I can't even remember them all. But I do know this though. I started a daycare. I already got doxxed, man. The YouTube streets already doxxed.
Oh yeah, no,
they're like,
you about this. I didn't hear anything about your daycare. So.
Yeah, no, yeah, because they're like, hey, Binary, how's the daycare going? I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean? Yeah, you go to daycare, don't you, Binary? How's that going, Mr. Daycare Director? I was like, okay, fine. If you're gonna dox me, you see, I'm the owner of that shit. I'm not no director. I'm the owner. I got directors under me. Right. I own that bitch. Dox me right, mother. But yeah, YouTube don't play, bro.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I started daycares. I started daycares so that, because this was going to be my end for the churches, because what I realized, because I'm a thinker, bro, and so are you, I can already tell. I realized they're always begging for money, right? So if I could come in there bringing them about $800 a week, right, just off their strength, because I'm running a daycare and running it out of their church, you know, I get about 1,000 a week. They get about 800 a week. Come in there like that, they're gonna want to keep. They're going to want to keep me around. I'm an asset. You know what I mean? I'm an asset. And so that's what I did. I started that daycare that everybody knows about. So I started that daycare, but my mission was to, you know, bring it to the churches so that I can be a blessing right off rip. Right. You know what I mean? And so I brought it to the first church, blessing right off rip. Everybody fell in love with me at that church. Pastor kicked me out. Isn't that crazy? The $800 a week, he didn't care about none of that.
Well, listen, you might. Yeah, maybe if you had $2,800 a week, he might have. He would have been like, yeah, he could stay. Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's a lot of politics, though, huh?
Oh, tons of politics. But what's happening though, as I'm getting kicked out of all these churches, people see how real I am, and they're following me. And that's what the pastors didn't see, that what was happening. And I wasn't stealing people out of these churches. They were just following me everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, where's he going to land next? And then there was a few more churches that I went to. And then I finally hit this spot where there's about 3,000 members at this church. And I became one of the lead pastors at that church. I wasn't the actual lead, but they considered me one of the lead pastors, where I'd preach a lot, teach a lot. I brought my daycare there. I brought them so much money, way more than $800 a week. I brought them so much money through that daycare, because the classrooms, the campus was just so beautiful. Like, people wanted to be there, and I always made sure my daycare prices was as low as they could possibly be. You know what I mean? So it blesses the church, blesses the community that we're in. And it was just booming. It was really, really booming. But when I went into this, at this particular church, when I went into it, because I knew they had money, and I knew, you know, that they were charismatic enough that I can be branded through them, I didn't tell them I'd be a pastor until I got like a contract written out. And so I said, within 2 years, you have to be at least finding me a location to where you want to send me, because this is what I want to have my own spot. You know what I mean? And they agreed to it. But after 2 years, you know, I was bringing so many people in. I was bringing so much money. I was doing so much stuff. They didn't want to let me go. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you doing all that, it's like, nah, let's just keep them here.
Yeah, let's keep them here. Let's figure it out. Let's keep them here. Let's figure it out. And so because that pastor didn't want to let me go, even though he needed to honor that contract, he didn't want to let me go. What he decided to do was say, hey, okay, we said we were going to look for you a spot, so we're going to look for you a spot. So we found a spot that we both agreed on. And I was like, cool. And I was happy with the spot or whatever. And then he said, so this is what we're going to do. You're going to be the campus pastor here, and we're going to do video me in. So he was going to be on like this big screen.
Wow.
I'm like, so I'm the maintenance man up in this bitch? What the hell is a campus pastor? And bruh, when he told me that, I threw up the deuces so fast. I didn't even care about the daycare no more. I was like, run it yourself. You think you can run this? You think you can do this? You're gonna play me like this? Run it yourself, you know, and begging me to stay. No, that's not what I meant. I meant maybe a couple of years we do it this way until, you know, you gotta. I was like, no, And so when I left there, I went to the last church that I finally, resided at for a while. And that was with like 1,500 members. Went there to that church. And, now this is a span of 10 years. You see what I mean?
That's what I
As
was
far
just
as,
about to ask
see
you,
what I'm
like,
saying?
how
Yeah.
long you doing? Right.
Yep. So it's a span of 10 years that I've been pastoring. And so at this church, man, it was probably one of the realest churches I've ever been at. Everybody was dope. Everybody was cool, man. I mean, it was like what I think what people really want to see in a church, this church has it. The only problem is doctrine, bro. Like
Right.
when Trayvon Martin, when Trayvon Martin got murdered, something happened to me.
Right.
And I think something happened to a lot of Black folks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
our eyes kind of opened up to like the realness of our sons and how fragile their lives are out here. Because when he got murdered, my son was 16.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And go ahead.
I was gonna say, you send your kid to the store to get some, basic stuff that, goofy, just the words are Skittles, right? You send your kid to the store and they getting some Skittles and they don't make it home, man. That, and as a father, you like, whoa, I can't find my son. And it wasn't even, it don't make it better, but it wasn't even like police.
Right.
It was like a dude that, and I'm saying that just felt like, oh, you know what? He shouldn't be walking through here. So I agree with you. That did something.
Yeah, it did something, man. And then like I had a nightmare, man. I was at the scene, and I was in my nightmare. I was at the scene, the whole Trayvon Martin scene, bro. And after everything happened, he was laying there. He was laying face down. I turned him over, and when I turned him over, I saw my son. I didn't see Trayvon. I saw my son, and that was it for me. That was it. That was when it was like, okay, that was too real. I need to start learning history.
Right.
I gotta start learning like serious history. I was already in that mode 2 years prior to that, but it wasn't heavy. You know what I mean? It was just like I was dibbling and dabbling, really starting to understand who I am, studying more of the Nation of Islam, because, no justice, no peace. That was a real big thing. Million Man March was a real big thing. You know what I mean? So I was really trying to get into all that and figure out how I can relate Christianity to all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how do you resolve that type of stuff with what you're reading and what you're teaching in the Bible? Not more what you're teaching, because you can read stuff and but like how did you resolve that with what you're actually teaching?
Oh, bro, I was conflicted, man. Conflicted big time. When I was up on that pulpit preaching, bro, I felt fake, man. I felt fake. I felt like what I was doing was a show. You know what I mean? Like I just felt empty. Right. I felt empty. And this is the kicker, though. I felt empty, but everybody around me was loving it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's because I had to put on a production. I had to put on a show. Like, because normally I'm pretty good with just being myself. You know what I mean? I think that's why a lot of people loved it when I preached, because I was just myself. You know what I mean? Just how I'm talking to you.
Right.
So I talk to everybody. You know what I mean? I just tie it in with the Bible. You know how I tie things in.
Yep.
So I was just doing all that, tying everything, tying life in, tying the Bible into life and all that. But at that moment, I was so empty, bro, that I had to make it a production. Right. It wasn't like, it wasn't really me, but they was digging that production because that's what preachers do.
Oh, yeah.
They were probably thinking I was shifting. They're probably like, "Ooh, God's really taking binary up there." You know what I mean? But I'm empty as shit, man.
Yeah.
So I had it. So it became a chore to write sermons. It never became a chore to me. Like it always used to just be, it always just flowed out. Right. You know what I mean? Because I knew exactly how to read the Bible. I knew exactly, I knew everything of how to really master these things down so it would flow right out. But at that moment, man, the conflict that was going on in my mind from what I'm learning to what's happening here, bruh, I could not give the scriptures that time no more.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I couldn't give it that time. And so I had to make a show out of it. And so when I'm up there, I'm hollow, bro, just making a show. And what's crazy is everybody except my wife, because my wife knew what was up. You know what I mean? Everybody except my wife was just loving it.
Right.
But she knew I was empty up there. So
so. For sure. And she knew, and you know what I mean? But because she got to see you behind the scenes. So
yep.
What kind of you don't have to go into detail, but what kind of things was she saying to you, or what was her direction as far as, hey, I see this,
Yeah, well, my wife, she's a Christian to the core, like to the core. I love that about her. You know what I mean? I love that she has a conviction, and that she sticks with it. And I had to learn how to do that, man. I had to learn how to really just love people where they're at, and not try to, because I'm saying growing up in it, even though I didn't, but my mentality feels like I grew up in Christianity, even though I didn't, because that was the first programming that I got. Right. You know what I mean? So growing up in that, I realized how I used to just push it on people, proselytizing, forcing people. This one dude, it got so bad that I was on the streets, right, talking to a dude. This one dude told me, and I'm gonna call the police. I'm like, call the police? What are you talking about? He's like, you spiritually harassing me. I'm like, what the? Oh, my bad. Bro, I'm like, spiritually harassing you. That's the first time. I'm like, shit.
I ain't never heard it spiritually.
He said, you spiritually harassing me. I was like, damn, okay, well. let me scale back just a little bit. Yeah.
Right. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, he said I was spiritually harassing him. And so to be at the point where I am now, to be able to just love people where they're at, bro, I see more beauty in people that way.
Right.
I see tons. And what's crazy is, because my wife is so devout in her faith, I see more beauty in that now that I've stepped back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because when we were in it together, she was always in my shadow. You know what I'm saying? So I took her for granted. Let's just put it that way. Because she was always in my shadow. She was always Mrs. Code, Mrs. Pastor, Mrs. this, Mrs. that. She has a great voice, bro, as far as like when she wants to talk and she really wants to get things said and she really wants to get things out there. She has a powerful voice.
Right.
And that's why I was trying to warn D. Durrell, like, bro, you don't know who's backing me, bro.
Yeah.
You don't know who's behind me.
Yeah. You have to be careful because that's the thing. That's one of the major things. Like, that's why I try to like toe the line and just have some fun because like, there's certain things that I don't play with.
Right.
And I'm all for having fun and joking. And, I don't take myself that serious, but I do take including, family and stuff like that. If you're going to go after them, I take stuff like that serious. So, I get it, man. You got to, you definitely, if you don't know people, and I think what happens is a lot of times people get away with doing stuff. It becomes normal for them. So, hey, it's like, hey, I'm just going to say and do whatever because these guys are, whatever, they're nobodies or whatever. But,
right.
You don't know who people are, man. You gotta be
right. And it's crazy because I love that they're so into numbers. Like I say I'm into numbers. I say I'm into all this. I say I'm into all that, bro. But I feel like I have a good pulse on life and I have a good view on trajectory.
Right.
You know what I mean? How things go. So I can look at my, 485 subs and see 1,000. Right. You know what I mean? And see 2,000, see 3. Like I could see it as clear as day.
You're playing the long game. And as long as you, there's this, I always refer people to this story about this, I want to say it's in India where there was this like area, it was like barren. And this guy, every day he would walk down there and plant something. And for like 30 years, and I'm not saying it's going to take you 30 years to get your subs, but
right. It's okay.
For 30 years, he reinvigorated the whole area with the vegetation, animal life, everything. But he would just walk down and, just, so if you're looking at it like that and you feel like that, and I'm affiliated with a couple of with a online radio station, a couple of guys and stuff like that out here. And one of the guys he's a younger guy to me, but he's my mentor in this kind of space. Right. He was like, listen, man, if you release an episode and one person tunes in, you continue to make content for that one person, and that one person turn into 2, and don't worry about the number. Just keep putting it in. If that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do it, and if you just you'll see the superficial people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They just doing stuff to to do it.
Yeah.
And or for the fame. Some people, there'll be some people that'll catch on and, skyrocket and make something for themselves. But the people that usually, really make it are the ones that stay to it. And you don't see it. You don't see that they put in, 3 or 4 years in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when I could no longer fake it, like I just couldn't fake it no more, that's when the rubber met the road. And I told the other pastors that were on the team, because we're a team, there was like 5 of us. I let them know my heart, bro. I let them know like everything that I'm doing. And because the church just wasn't ready for that merge of realness as far as what's really happening in the Black community. They were not ready for that.
Right.
Well, especially the church that I was a pastor at. They just weren't ready for that realness. And so because they couldn't meet my needs, it was like, I don't need you guys. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need, like, because what's happening inside of me right now is so real. You know what I mean? It can't just be talked away. You know what I mean?
Right,
stuff really needs to start happening. Changes really need to start going on. The way that I'm thinking, like my whole paradigm, my mind, my whole worldview, everything just shifted in almost like a moment. I know it was a gradual shift, but when it hit, there was a moment.
Right.
It hit.
Right.
And we were in that meeting and we were just all just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what's crazy is there was another pastor and he's Black. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at this dude like, bro. But I get it, man, because he was in that. I mean, we're in the same lane. He just wasn't where I was mentally as far as, what's happening to the plight of Black folks. And he came out of the Nation of Islam. So he's probably thinking, I'm going backwards.
Right.
Even though what was happening was because there's a great awakening, I think, within the Black community that's going on right now. And I think the world is waking up to it. You know what I mean? I tell people this all the time now that the shift is happening where it's going to be super cool to be Black. I mean, super cool. So If you don't get it now, especially once the coronavirus, COVID and all that gets normalized, just like the flu and just like all that stuff, once it gets normalized and in our society and we're able to really hit the ground running, it's going to be really good to be Black, especially if you use that time wisely and built something up.
Right.
And when you hit that ground running, bro, everybody's going to want to support you. Everybody's going to want to see what you do. The world, everybody's going to want to get behind you. And you can see that shift happening right now, and I think I saw that way back then whenever I was going through my crisis,
right.
And that was an identity crisis. I'm not scared to admit that. That was an identity crisis that I was facing. I'm just glad that I awoke at that moment and I was able to see what was going on, in my heart. And it was, bro, you're Black, man. Like, There's just like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You're Black. If the police pull you over, you're Black. You know what I mean? People see you're Black. You know what I'm saying? And that reality, it smacked me pretty hard, bro. I ain't gonna lie. It smacked me pretty hard.
Right.
And that was my awakening. And that's what made me step down from the church, because their ideology, their doctrines, everything that I was teaching people, it contradicts,
right,
the very core of who I am. So I had to step down.
Yeah, it's that's interesting because, if we go back like after slavery, even during slavery, the Black Christian and the Black churches was the go-to. That's
right.
where we went to be together. That's where we went to learn.
Yeah.
Even schools were, basically, the Christian doctrine was the schools.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that socially in this day and age, it seemed like from your experience, and it may be different now, but from your experience, it seemed like they were pulling away from the social issues, where that's where we initially would go to. And I guess that's because we have so many different, you have like Christian church, you have, like you said, Nation of Islam, you have Hebrew Israelites, you have a bunch of different, Pan-African, you have a bunch of different sects that people can go to. But it's interesting that, like, in your experience, the church was like kind of like pulling away from the social part, because that's initially what their core was.
Right. Yeah. And what's interesting is like I said, this particular church, they did a lot, man. Like they were really the hands and feet out there handling business. You know what I mean? Just nobody was prepared to deal with real Black issues.
Right.
Nobody was prepared for that. They're prepared now though. Yeah. I mean, that church it's rocking now. They are on like hot topics. They're asking, when am I coming back? I'm like, never. But hey,
have they tuned into your show?
I don't think so. No, my son was like, Dad, you need more subscribers? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm gonna hit up the people from the church. I was like, oh hell no, you better not do that. You better not do that.
You talk about copyright strikes and all kind of stuff. You'll be out of there in a week. Listen, you know what? You might want to create about 4 or 5 more channels right now just to be in the just in case your son decides to take it to it.
Oh gosh, he better not. He better not. Oh my gosh, I'd be done. But yeah, they're on it now, bro. They're on it now, but it's a little too late for me.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is now I understand that Jesus is a concept. Jesus is an energy, which allows Christianity to flourish the way that it does. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, living here in America and westernized civilizations, everything's literal.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't see the figurative speech within the Bible. Everything is literal. A lot of people take Jesus's words and transform those into figurative speech, but they don't take Jesus and transform Jesus into figurative speech, because there was so much before Jesus telling that story. You know what I mean? And I had to learn that. Story is ancient. It's an ancient story. And I see how the Jesus story kind of fulfills those narratives that were going on and kind of pushes itself into that. And that's why it has such a powerful effect right now. It's almost like a fulfillment of prophecy. So here's the son, here's the son, here's the son, but here's the actual son. And that's what the West took and said, no, it's a real person. It's this and it's that and it's this and it's that. And it's not as metaphoric as, the sun in the sky type thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or the center of the universe type thing, So I don't know, man. I don't want to get too deep into that.
I was going to say, it's a rabbit hole, bro. When you get down that rabbit hole and you start, there's certain people you can't have the conversation with. So I generally just avoid the conversation altogether because, I'm like, all right, bottom line for me is, I gotta get my ass up. I gotta go to work. I gotta create these opportunities. When I talk to people, I don't impede on their, people's beliefs, but, I'm not a praying man. So, if I need something done or if I feel like something, I need something accomplished, I don't look anywhere but to myself.
Absolutely. It took me forever to learn that.
Yeah. And I don't have a savior complex where I'm like, hey, somebody gonna come and, I just need to speak these words and somebody nah, you can speak all the words you want. If you don't, bottom line, if you don't get up off your ass or if you don't sign that paperwork, Jesus ain't gonna create your LLC. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do that stuff yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's real.
But I avoid the conversation completely.
Yeah. It's tough to avoid it in my household. But I got to give credit to my wife. She's really good at tiptoeing around the subject. You know what I mean? Because if she starts coming at me, I'll go forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we start pissing each other off.
I was gonna say, you don't want that in the household. You know what? I'm just gonna, let me special education. Let's talk about special education. So you're a special education teacher. How did you pivot from engineering? Because I don't like, how do you pivot from engineering?
How did that happen?
Yeah, right? to special education.
Yeah, so Jesus is the answer for the world today. That's how it happened. So whenever I entered into the church and I started getting real deep into the ministry and getting deep into the youth ministry, I was like, okay, I think God is telling me that I got to help out the youth. You know what I mean? So I was always trying to figure out a way how to make that shift happen. Okay, so like I said, when I do something, I really do it. And so, I was looking for jobs that can help the youth, you know what I mean? And a YMCA job popped up on my search as a coordinator at the YMCA. And so my money will get chopped in half if I take this job. But in my mind, God is telling me, take this job. Benefits gone, money gone, you know what I'm saying? I feel like a damn fool right now.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
But at the time, I felt like I was really doing, God's work. And so I went and interviewed for that job. They thought I was nuts. They thought I was crazy. They hired me. I put my 2 weeks in as a technician.
Hold on, I gotta stop you for a second. How many people can say, I went for a job, they thought I was nuts, they thought I was crazy, they hired me?
Right.
Those things don't go together, but go ahead.
No, that's true. That is true. Because they were like, wait a second, where do you work? Wait a second, what do you do? Wait a second, how much money you make? Wait a second, you want to do this? And I was adamant about doing it. And I was telling them because like I told you, like I read the job description. And so I knew, okay, I got to go into this interview with a plan on how I'm going to run the youth here. And so I had like a full out plan. And so that during that interview, they were pretty much sitting back listening to me. They weren't asking me no question.
Right.
They were sitting back listening to me because I was like, they did ask me one question. They were like, so where, like, what did they say? So how do you see yourself fitting in here? I was like, there's my opportunity. And I just went on for like 30 minutes, bro. And I laid down how I'm going to transform their whole entire facility. The YMCA ain't going to never be the same once you guys hire me. And like, because I laid it out and because, that's why they called me nuts. That's why they called me crazy, but they love the idea so much. And guess what? When they hired me and I came there, I did exactly what I said I was going to do.
Right.
I did exactly what I said I was going to do.
That's what's up.
I blew that thing up. But the person that hired me after a year, he quit or he quit or he retired or something. But he loved me, man. And he was like, y'all better take care of him. He really did transform the youth here. We had no youth here. Now it's like, now we're trying to get rid of youth. You know what I mean? Like they're coming out of nowhere because I changed that YMCA. I pretty much turned it into a rec center / workout. You know what I mean? And so the kids love going there. And the parents were so excited, like, my kids finally want to come. You know what I mean? Even though they want to go hang out with Binary, and you know what I mean? But they finally want to come and they're signing up for stuff. I've put all kinds of camps and stuff. Man, I mean, I did everything for that YMCA. But that dude quit, and the woman that took his spot, she couldn't stand me. It's always something about me, man, where people just, I don't know what it is. Like, he doing too good. Look at him, man. He think he all that shit. Yeah, you ain't got no special treatment now. He gone. Man, she would like, she put handcuffs on me bad. She's like, okay, so you're supposed to be with the youth, so don't leave that room. I'm like, the rec room? Like, hold on. My whole thing is to go play basketball, go play football, go do this, go do that, like interact. Like, no, we need you stationed in that room. I'm like, oh my gosh. So she completely destroyed my program, bro. But that's how I got into the youth side of things. So as I'm stuck in that room, there was this dude, right? This dude came through and he had a kid that was he has autism. Right. And so and that was my first like real encounter with like up close and personal. Oh, no. Quick story. My first real encounter with the special needs community is I was playing basketball I was like 9th grade and this dude was deaf. Right. And so, he make a shine like Swift. I'm like, and I'm clowning on him.
9th grade.
I'm clowning. I'm like, oh, you think you're all good? Like, I'm clowning. And then he's like, you make fun of me, I'll kick your ass. I'm like, what? Kick my ass? I'm like, this fool's deaf. Like, I'm about to kick his ass. I'm about to beat him up.
So you think?
Right. Man, the way that he took off his shirt. And he was like super ripped and like he took off like because he wore an oversized shirt, so you just wouldn't think. You think like, okay, he's deaf, and he was kind of goofy or whatever. But he took off his shirt and he started flexing on me like, I'm gonna kick his ass, I'm gonna kick it. I was like, oh. I was about to get beat down for real. And I was like, I don't want no smoke. I don't want no. So that was my first real encounter, and I realized that they have strength. They have this hidden
It's
trait that
just
you don't know shit about.
just regular. You know, they
Yep.
have something that's different, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still people.
Yep. Yeah, still people. And so at the YMCA, being stuck in that prison, right? Being stuck in that prison, the homie comes up and the kid has autism. And I'm like, dang, that has to be tough. Like, I don't know what prompted me to be so bold to say this, but I was like, that has to be tough. Your son having disabilities, He's like, oh, this isn't my son. This is my client. I was like, what do you mean your client? And then he hit me on to being a care provider for kids with special needs. I fell in love with that, bro. I fell in love with that idea. I fell in love with that concept. I was like, they're keeping me in prison. I was like, give me a business card. I'm going to be a care provider. Money got cut in half again.
Yeah. You really doing it from from the heart, and that's my, like I said, I mentioned my daughter's a social worker. I told her before she got into it, because initially she wanted to do probation and parole.
Yeah.
And I was telling her, like, when she decided she wanted to do like juvenile, I said, man, this stuff is gonna tug at your heartstrings. Now, when you talking about special needs and the pay is getting cut in half, you are like, you have to love what you're doing. I just want to throw that in there.
No, that's real, bro. That's real. And so I became a care provider. I became a care provider, and that's what got me into the special needs community, right? And so the kid that I became a care provider for, he was having some problems. And like I said, this is the running theme in our talk here, is whenever I plan on doing something, I do it to the fullest. You know what I mean? And so I learned all about the special needs community before before I took on this child. I learned all about the special needs community. I learned all the laws, the rules, you know what I mean? Like what I can and cannot do. Like, I learned everything. So I was with this, and like, I'm rare in the care providing, because the kiddo I still have. And so I've had him for about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 15 years. So he considers me uncle. That's my little nephew.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I had him for about 15 years. Yeah, 15 years. He was having issues at school. And like, I am stop, bud. Stop, please. And so I knew all the laws of what he was supposed to get when he goes to school. So I went to his IEP meeting, which is just an individualized educational program that they placed our kiddos in. And so I went into that IEP meeting as his advocate. Okay. And when they were talking, they didn't know that I knew everything. So when they were talking, I lit them up, bro. I mean, I lit them up. I got my nephew everything and more out of that meeting. And then I was thinking, like, okay, let me go sit into his classroom, make sure the teachers and the paraprofessionals, everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And then when I sat in that classroom, I fell in love with the atmosphere.
Right.
You know what I mean? His teacher she was really, really good. I fell in love with like her teaching style. I fell in love with all his friends. You know what I mean? I just fell in love with it. And then I started seeing myself doing that. And that's how I became a special education teacher. I was like, you know what? Because I was still getting all my degrees. I just finished up my bachelor's in Christian studies,
right.
At that time. And so I was moving into getting the MDiv, Master's in Divinity. I was moving into that. And then I fell in love with this. So I was like, you know what? Let me get my master's in special education. Let me become a special education teacher. And then within the course of a year after I witnessed that classroom, I became a special education teacher. I got my master's in special education, shifted gears completely. You know what I mean? Got my master's in special education, became a teacher, and I've been doing that for about 4 years now. So
right. And I know you're looking to get into you're getting a doctorate. Is it in the same field or?
Yeah, it's in special education. Nothing shifted me away from that. So I think after all that time, I finally found my groove. You know what I mean? As far as what I'm supposed to be doing, the legacy that I'm supposed to be setting, as far as Uncle Sam is concerned.
Well, listen, he definitely, Uncle Sam. Well, from a tax standpoint, he definitely is there, making sure that binary. I heard we got paid.
What we make this time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you got a YouTube?
Oh yeah, he coming for that. He's coming
Yeah.
for that. I already know.
So like
Already
what are some of the like the challenges as far as with special education that people may not be aware of? Because special education seems to be like a broad thing.
Yeah.
But for you,
Yeah.
what are some of the challenges?
Well, it's how people they don't realize, because they'll always tell me, right? They'll always tell, and I get why they say it, but they will always tell me, "Oh, God bless you for the work that you do," as if like what I'm doing is, this, super crazy dope thing that you got to be a magician to do, because these kids, they have special needs or whatever. What people don't realize is once you pass the disability and you get into their world, they're easy, bro.
Right. Okay.
Like my job, man. You know what I mean? So hey, y'all can keep throwing me around. Oh, God bless you for your services. Okay, well, cool.
Right.
Your job's a lot harder than mine. Trust me, as
right.
the other teachers, their job's a lot harder than mine. So that's a misconception, and that kind of bugs me a little bit, and but what's really, really, really hard is when a kiddo's family doesn't buy into their own child's success. You know what I mean? That right there, that's like torture to my soul, bro.
Right.
Is like when I see more beauty in their child than they do. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, nah. Your child could do so much more than you give them credit for. And unfortunately, there's money in the special needs community.
Correct.
So parents typically don't want their kids to succeed. Because they don't want that money to go away.
Right.
As of right now, I think they're up to like, especially here in Arizona, which is one of the highest paying states, I think they're up to like $935 a month.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just imagine.
Yeah.
That's some money, bro. $935 a month to help you support your kiddo. Yeah. And some of these families, they have 2 kids.
Right.
2 kids that have been diagnosed. So that's tough because they don't really want to see their kids succeed, unfortunately. But what I do is, and I made sure I did this, is I teach a functional skills class. So I get the lower functioning kids, and I teach them life skills. So academics come second. I teach them how to cook. I teach them how to wash their clothes. I teach them how to tie their shoes. I teach them I like all that functional skill stuff that they need to be a functioning citizen in our society. That's what I teach them. Like I teach them how to ride the public bus. We get them bus cards and that. So when we go on our field trips, we ain't taking the yellow bus on the field trips. We walk into the bus stop. They gotta handle their business. You know what I mean? I teach them that. I teach them how to go grocery shopping. So we hit the grocery store, mobbing around the grocery store. They got to get their own snacks. Right. You want snacks? You better. You got a budget. Right. You gotta figure out, oh, you sure you want that Snickers bar? You got a whole week that you better be cutting that Snickers bar. You sure you want to spend that much money? So they have to budget, they have to do all that stuff, so that's what I do.
What's funny about that? 2 things. So that's almost like it's like a parent, what a parent should be teaching their kids. Mm-hmm. Yep. But also too, maybe, I've been out of school for a long time, so I might be off, but I don't know that schools teach regular, I'm using air quotes, regular students, those types of things.
No.
So the fact
when we grew up, we had home ec. Remember, home ec was pretty dope. I was big in home ec.
Yeah, home ec. But I for home ec, I remember my home ec teacher always asking me if I'm being facetious, because I was that's who I was. Rodney, are you being facetious? And then, I just. That's just who I was. But I don't remember functional skills. So the fact that you're teaching somebody who society has, or tests or whatever has deemed, special needs or functional skills. And in reality, regular school, it's more based on tests and grading and standard tests and stuff like that. So that's just odd to me. That you actually, now is that something that you do because there is a curriculum for you guys, correct?
No, believe it or not.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
the school that I'm at, I'm fortunate that they include me because there's a distinction between general education and special education, like a real big gap, man. There's a line of demarcation that you pretty much don't cross. But the school that I'm at, they're so gangster, bro, that they include me in everything.
Right.
And so when they bought the curriculum for the K through fourth, they asked me, like, is this something you could use? And I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? And so, as far as phonics and math and stuff, they do give me a curriculum, but not every school in my district is not every special education program in my district's blessed like that. You know what I'm saying? So, but I create my own curriculum.
Okay.
And they've had functional skills in the school district, but they never defined it. So I wrote the description, and I wrote like this is what functional skills is, and I'm actually writing a book right now on functional skills. And as far as my doctorate is concerned, I'm a seminal writer of this particular area of special education. So if somebody wants to do a dissertation on what I'm kind of like talking about, they have to quote me, bro. So that's going to be dope. You know what I mean? So that's some legacy building shit right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, nah, that's a beautiful thing right there.
Yeah. It took some maneuvering to figure out, because I knew, like, okay, if I'm going to get my doctorate, it has to be something special. So as I was figuring out my lane and figuring out, because you have to, when you're getting your doctorate and you're trying to figure out your thesis and what you're going to be, doing your research on, you have to go through a committee. It's not like you could just be like, okay, this is what I want to write about and this is what I want to research. No, right. Everything you do has to get approved. And so when you're going through that approval thing, you have to get your research based off of other people's stuff. And I was thinking, okay, how can I possibly do this to where it's kind of based on other people's stuff, but it's really just me, you know what I mean? Just researching it, so people have to do it. And in the particular research that I'm doing, it led to that, and they fell in love with the idea. So I thought about that. That wasn't like something that just happened.
Right.
I thought about that. I was like, I want to be the pioneer of this shit. I want to be, you know what I mean? I want to be like the start of this, because I moved out of my house at 17, right? My parents let me, that's a bug zapper in the back. So if you hear that pop, it's just a bug zapper. Getting the mosquitoes.
That was a big pop. What kind of mosquito is that?
Hey, man, we be lighting them up, bro. We be lighting them up. You should see the bug zapper. Shoot, I should turn my camera around. It ain't no Umar situation.
I was going to say, don't turn your terror. No,
it ain't no Umar situation. I wouldn't be embarrassed.
My thing is y'all don't need to see that.
I'm moving. No, but that was, I can't remember. But that was strategic. Oh, yeah. I moved out of the house at 17. And like I said, my mom did a great job of instilling the Asian culture within me. That's why I have a lot of influence, from the Asian culture. And you guys know, my wife is Asian. Like, I mean, I have tons of Asian influence around me. But there was no legacy in my family. Like, they didn't leave anything for me. Right. They didn't, and so it's been on my heart to always do that for my kids. Leave something. And that's why I'm doing a football league. And people get it twisted, bro. They keep thinking, oh, you got a great football team. Nah, I got 6 of them motherfuckers I got to worry about. Not one team. It's not one. I got coaches I got to worry about, families, organizations. I got like businesses I got to worry about. I got sponsors I got to worry about. It's a big thing. Like, and it's funny because I kind of promote it as if I'm like a coach of it, because I want all my coaches to see that I can be right there on that ground floor with them. Right. You know what I mean? Coaching these boys up, leading by example. Right. That's pretty much what I'm doing. But anyway, so moving out of the house at 17, something hit me to where my kids, they're going to grow into something. Right. They're going to grow into something. And so when I was thinking about this dissertation, I was like, I always want them to know that daddy started this. You know what I mean? That's my dad. So if this blows up or whatever, and people can get a doctorate easier now, it's because of me. Correct. You know what I'm saying? Correct. Because the lane that I opened up, which the lane you'll catch wind of this if you follow. The lane that I opened up makes it easier for special education teachers to become doctors. Right. It just makes it easier.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, okay. How do
so much, man? I know I'd be jumping all over the place.
No. I listen. The way my mind works, you know what I'm saying? It just works the way it works. And there's so much stuff that, like I said, initially when I was thinking of approaching you about the interview, I was like, you know, just full transparency. I was like, all right, he's black, he's Asian, there's all this tension. Let's talk about that. But the more I listened to you, the more I started going down your catalog, the more I said, I can't, for me personally, because, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, the listener is going to get what I give them. But for me personally, I couldn't resolve it with myself if I just stuck to that. You know, even though
I appreciate you for not doing that.
Even though my mind was like on that because there's so much stuff going on, I was like, nah, this dude is way more. And because, you know, I'm a fan of your content. You know, for me, podcasting is about finding out about the person. You know what I'm saying? Deep. So, you know, I could just do that surface thing and just be like, all right, well, let me just find out. Let me say, hey, you're black. Hey, you're Asian. Hey, what do you think about that? Let's talk for an hour and, you know, bounce some questions. But I kid you not, I have 4 notebooks right here.
Wow.
And I have different stuff on there. But, I just, because once I started like writing out stuff, I was like, oh, but what about this? Oh, but what about that? Oh, but what about this?
Right.
So, yeah. So for me, you know, so I say all that to say, how do we get to trolling?
Trolling these YouTube streets.
Yeah, trolling on YouTube.
Well, shoot, man. I play video games, bro. Like, I play video games. I haven't lately because YouTube has taken over my life. But I play video games and I'm really good. I'm really good at playing. I'm really good. So I'm in these party chats. And so I'm in these party chats playing these video games. And as I'm talking, people are just dying laughing when I'm talking, you know? And so this one dude kept saying, Binary, man, you need to get a Twitch. You need to get a Twitch. I'm like, what the hell is Twitch? You know, I don't know what the hell Twitch is. Binary, get a Twitch, bro. Get a Twitch, bro. Trust me, people will flood to your Twitch. Get a Twitch. Dang, bro, you ain't kidding about the numbers. You ain't kidding.
Y'all can't see, but I'm showing them. I'm flashing in my notebook. So.
Yeah, he's flashing. No, he ain't kidding. Yeah, binary. Get a Twitch, bro. I'm like, I don't know nothing about Twitch. You know, I don't know nothing about that. They was like, what about YouTube? You can do YouTube. You'd be good at YouTube. I was like, I guess. You know what I mean? And then so I tried to do a video. It wasn't popping. My son and my nephew, they're really binary code. My son and my nephew, they're the ones. My 11-year-old. No, I guess no. All 3 of my sons. I have one's 18, one's 11, and one's 6. All 3 of them actually helped me. And then my nephew's 12. So they're really binary code. Okay. I dropped that first video. They were like, if you keep that video up, we're not helping you at all. Like, take that shit down. I'm like, damn. They're like, that shit was so cringy. You take that down.
Hold on. No. We not just gonna skip over that. What was the video of? Is it still you took it down?
No, I took it down. I need the support.
Okay.
I need the support.
Do you still have the video?
I still have the video. Yeah, it's bad, bro.
Listen, listen. I promise not to publish it. Could you send me? Could I get a copy? Could I get a copy? I need to see this. But all right.
No, it's a gaming video. You're not gonna want to watch it. Okay. It's bad, bro. No, it's so bad. And you know, I wasn't being myself. You know, because they were telling me I need to get this, I need to get that. And so, like I told you, whenever somebody tells me or whenever I get into something, I dive into it, right? Mm-hmm. And so I thought diving into this because I started watching YouTube like with a different lens. I wasn't just, you know, watching YouTube just to watch YouTube, just to learn what's happening in the conscious community. What's young Pharaoh up to? Is he about to get his channel snatched? You know what I mean? Right. Like what's really happening? You know, so I started watching gamers. I started watching all that. I'm like, oh, they're like animated. And so I was faking it. You know what I mean? I was faking the animation. Like Like, my what's up, YouTube? You know how I do that as my intro? That had to take practice. And I had to go through the board. I have a board. And that's my nephew's and son. I had to go through the board. I was like, is this
some
a good
people
intro?
some people don't have a board, but go ahead.
Right. Yeah. I was like, is this a good intro? Is that a good? They're like, yeah, that one will work. Because I started out like, what was it? I was like, what up, Coke Gang? Like, I had some stupid, what up, Coke Gang? It's your boy Binary. Let's do this. No, I had something stupid, man. Like, I had that stupid animated voice that wasn't real. It was just like, and we are back with another. Like, it was so bad, bro. They're like, man. You do that, we're not helping you. It's cringy. It's not going to work. And then my 11-year-old, he's the one that said, Dad, just be yourself. Just, you know what I mean? Just be yourself. You're just naturally funny. Just be yourself, and we'll figure out how, we'll figure everything else out. Just be yourself. Talk how you talk. Yeah. And when they told me that liberated. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you think, I don't know what it is about going public and people listening to you. You think you have to change. You know what I mean? You have to change. You know what I mean? You have to fit this narrative. But they were like, nah, just be yourself. And when my kids liberated me to just be myself, it was over with. And that's how I got into this mode. And so I was doing the gaming, beating people's asses, right? Just kicking people's asses in the game. Like, because I would play different people around the world in these games, just kicking their asses and talking shit, right? And so, but I wasn't getting the views. I'm like, dang, this is good. And I still have those videos up, so you can watch those. I'm like, dang, this is good, but I'm not getting the views. And my son was like, well, you're good at talking trash. You ever considered like trolling? You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, the hell is trolling? I didn't know what that was. He's like, you're good at talking trash. You're good at getting under people's skin. You're good at like making people like go crazy. And so I started studying trolling.
And you dove all the way into it.
Got all the way into it.
Obviously, for sure.
Dove all the way into it. And then I was thinking, okay, let me go back because wait, hold on. Let me go back. I skipped so much. The trolling actually came before all the cringy stuff. So that was more like, Dad, have you ever considered trolling? And I was like, what is trolling? I dove deep into it. And that's when I started trolling Lennon. So my bad. I had the timeline mixed up in my brain. You know what I mean? But that's when I started trolling Lennon. And that was my first real taste of trolling. And then I got into the gaming aspect because Max V told me, about YouTube and how, just because I was already kicking people's asses in video games. And he told me like, you should start a channel. You know what I mean? And so that's when Binary Code started. And that's when all the cringy stuff happened. That's when my son reminded me about trolling. So he reminded me about trolling. Dad, you need to, you're good at talking trash. You need to get into that trolling bag. And so that's when I went back into that trolling bag. So I had to clear up that timeline because I was like, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. But yeah, that's how it worked. So I was Wesley TG when he told me about trolling back then. And so, and I didn't realize I was going to have like an actual channel. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just wanted to see what trolling felt like. And because I'm in special education, I knew about Umar.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so Umar would come up on my timeline, and then I stumbled across Lennon. I'm like, oh, this dude is going hard after Umar. You know what I mean? I'm like, wow. Yeah. And so at that time, it was like, is Umar a scammer? In my brain, like, is he a scammer? Is he not? I don't know. Let me listen. Let me keep listening to this dude. Let me keep listening to this dude. And as he's talking, I realized like 98% of his audience, were against Umar. So I was like, well, this is going to be great. Uh-huh. And he's doing these call-ins. And so, bruh, I prepped and I wrote out these questions and I wrote out like, okay, I have to change my voice. It has to be more annoying. I have to get to that Asian pitch. Like, hey guys, hey, this, like, and all that stuff worked. And so when I called in, Lennon fell in love with me at that point. He did. He fell in love with me because I knew I couldn't because there was, you remember Rock? That was part of Rock. He was he was a real Umar supporter that would call in and talk to Lennon. Yeah. People couldn't stand him.
He was very annoying.
Very annoying because his questions were just stupid. Like he had dumb questions, right? And so I was like, okay, I need to be that, but with very intelligent questions so that Lennon will engage with me. You know what I mean? And really, and I want to ask intelligent questions that a real Umar supporter would want to know the answers to.
Correct.
All right. So first I have to have an annoying voice, right? And then I have to figure out, okay, I got to make Lennon laugh so that he warms up to me. And then I ask him these troll questions that have substance. So when he answers them, he can help his audience even more.
Right.
So that was my whole troll move. And Lennon's super smart because he caught on to it right away. He knew exactly what I was doing right away. And that's why every time he saw my name, he'd bring me up.
Yep.
You know, and so that's how Wesley TG was pretty much birthed. But I didn't know it would turn into binary code. I did not know that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how I got into it. But my son pretty much reminded me of trolling. He reminded me of trolling. And so I was like, you know what? The gaming stuff ain't hitting. Let me go back to Umar. Let me go back to Umar and see what's going on in Umar land. Right. And that's when the first time I trolled was on Shakam Ra's page. And it was this guy named P. I don't know if you know P from Shakam Ra's page, but oh my gosh, I got under his skin so bad, right? I got under his skin so bad, he hung up, right? He was just pissed, just hung up, right? And then 45 minutes later, maybe an hour later, I'm still on there trolling my ass off, right? Like an hour later, he calls back up and joins the panel. You know what this dude said? He said, me and my son were just discussing everything that you just said. So he got off the panel, went and got his son and was discussing everything. Like I got under his skin that bad to where he took it to his family.
Right.
You know, like, oh, we got to figure this out. What is happening here? And then he's like, because he wasn't used to, like, I guess, an intelligent troll. Like, right. I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But because
trolling is usually just associated, it just being a dick. That's what a troll is, a dick or a hater. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's no, you know, for the most part, there's no intelligent questions. It's more of a snarky. I think what attracted me to what you actually do is, you know, in the middle of the trolling, you actually are going, wait a minute, is there a point? He has a point there. Let me go and think about it. Now, I'm not going to go, you know, I don't have the, you know, I'm not going to get offline and go and, you know, talk to somebody else about it. But it does make you, when you ask those questions and the way, the cadence, there's a whole thing that you do that I don't know if people get it. You know, but I started to get it, and I was like, okay, this is to me, this is something different. And regardless of what people feel about it, it's just something different. And you have to be able to, you know, listen to it and for me, acknowledge like, oh yeah, this is something different. That's what attracted me to it.
Oh, that's what's up. And people with your mindset and the way that you think, that's my audience. You know what I mean? I would say, okay, 485 subs right now. I would say 300 people are like you.
Right.
185 of them, they believe like a lot of the shit that I say, and I love it. I love it. Right. You know what I mean? Like like last night, was it last night or the night before? We were talking about the cities. Like Umar wants to purchase a city.
Yeah, I missed the live on that one.
Oh, you missed? Oh, that's okay. That's all right, man. But he was. People were getting upset with me. You know what I mean? As I'm delivering my side of this, you know, my point of views, they were getting mad, but they don't understand that's what I love.
Right.
I want them to get upset. I want them to get mad. I want them to really think about what I'm saying. So as they're what's making you so mad?
Right.
Is it because I believe in this dude's vision? Is that what's making you so mad? Or do I not believe in his vision? Or you just don't know if I believe in his vision or not, so you're pissed off right now.
Right.
Or is what I'm saying making a little bit of sense to you? So now you're getting that. You know what I mean? So I love it, man. I love it. But I'm slowly, I don't know if you're catching this. I'm slowly moving away from the beef though.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't anticipate what I was running into as far as the beef, but I realized that I'm a monster with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, from my observation, what happens is, you know, the people that are like, I guess, predatory in nature, like they look for it's really like, we joke around and call it the YouTube streets, but it's really like the streets. Like there are some guys that like, they just kind of hang out. You know what I'm saying? Hang out in the streets. They there, they're there for the fuckery or whatever.
Yeah, they there for
it. And they enjoy it, and they're not gonna participate. They may say something a little here and there, look on the sideline. Then there's the guys that come in and they're looking around to see what people have, and they're looking for easy, somebody that's an easy mark.
Right. I try to make myself look like that.
Yeah. And so they and then, but that's what happens. So when you start trolling, when somebody considers you an easy mark, and it's partially because even if you never cammed up, the laughing, kind of eases people. Like, oh, this guy's laughing, he's joking. I can, but then there's the other people that are just straight like predator that are just looking to just. Destroy, in YouTube, because we're not talking about real life, but and there's a couple of people that want to do some nonsense in real life, but for the most part, it stays on there. There are people that are looking to do that. So you have a bunch of different people that you can pick from audience wise. But for me, like I said, listening to you, I was like, I understand what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't. So is there like for like trolling, is there a limit? I know there is, because I saw something that, that you made a decision on, but what would be your limit for as far as like trolling?
Dude, man. I guess if it's really, really going to affect somebody's livelihood, I stay away from it.
Right.
I
understand that. So, so what did we cover?
Everything, man.
Yeah.
We covered everything. Yeah.
So
we covered everything.
Where do you want to leave it at? That's my question. Where do you want to leave it at? Who is Binary Code?
All right. Yeah. Let's go. Let's leave it at, let's end with this. Let's end with the dark side of the moon. How about that?
Okay.
How about that? I bet you a lot of people are curious about, just my affiliation with the occult and things like that. That's something I don't hide on YouTube. I put that in everybody's face. And the reason why is because once you get past the mysticism of the occult and things like that, you see that there's actually life right behind it. So what they want to do is they want to scare you with all the Satanism type stuff and all that stuff, so that the weak-minded people will stay away from it, don't want to study it. Because what I did, remember, I spent majority of my life learning about the light, learning about Christianity, learning about this, learning about that. And so I was like, you know what? Let me see what the other side is about. You know what I mean? I really want to see what the other side is about. And so I dove deep into it, man. I dove as deep as my conscience would let me go. But I am going to tell you this. The other side, it leads you right to where sometimes Christianity leads you, and that is some rainbow coalition type stuff, if you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't want to get your podcast in trouble or anything, but you know what I mean? Like, it leads you to those. I don't know why, like, religions and cults and things like that leads you to there. It's
right.
Like, And so when I reached that point of the journey, it was like, well, I guess this is where I exit stage left. I'm gone. I can't do any of that stuff. And that's why in the music industry and in Hollywood and all that, they practice this kind of stuff. That's why they're like the way that they are,
right?
Because they're trying to go to these new heights. They're trying to go to these new levels. They're trying to reach, different realms, different spaces, and so they take it there. They think that, that doing that is going to elevate them. And it does for a certain period of time. It elevates them for a certain period of time. But now I consider that the ultimate selling of your soul.
Right.
Like, if you do something that unnatural, and not like willing, you do it because you're trying to get some, like, it's not, you don't want to do it, but you're just doing it to get something out of it.
Right.
That is the selling of your soul. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. And that happens a lot. So I learned what I needed to learn. I love what I learned from the occult, and I try my hardest to balance the two on my channel.
Right.
I try my hardest to balance the two. Whenever I get into my discussions, I always talk about the middle way, which is Wu Wei. So who's ever listening, please go ahead and study Wu Wei. You'll get that from Buddhism, from Hinduism, from Zen Buddhism, the Wu Wei. I'm pretty sure that's where Wu Tang got their stuff from, because they study that. I'm just glad that I have the freedoms to be able to study different things the way that I do. So yeah, the Wu Wei, the yin yang, man. Study all that, and I'll leave it at that, man.
Okay, so I'm just gonna.
You got questions, probably.
No question. I was just gonna say, in the words of Emperor Palpatine, the dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities, some considered to be unnatural.